These are 4 covered hoppers from Trainworks. Now, I've shown you how to weather railroad cars with pastels. Today, I'm showing you how to do it with paints. And we're gonna go a little crazy. I'm going to be doing various levels of weathering from a light, that car's seen a few miles, to holy crap, how has that car not been scrapped? We're going to be using a technique called dry brushing. Let's get started. Dry brushing is where you take some paint on a brush and then brush most of it off on some other surface, and you just have a little bit of it left on the paintbrush. And then you use that on your model or your scenery. It's a really great and useful technique. Starting with the first car, we're going to dry brush a bit of this. We're not going to go too crazy into it, just enough to give it some hints of rust. What we're doing here is really, if you're not comfortable in doing heavy weathering, you can do just a little bit and be perfectly fine with how it looks. I am using this rust colored paint. This is just one of the cheapo acrylic paints that you can find in the arts and crafts section of a lot of different stores. Now notice that when I'm doing the paint, I'm giving motivation to the directions. You want the rust streaks to run down the sides of the car, in addition to having some general rust and weathering on top. If rust streaks connect to the top of the car, make a little spot on the roof where the rust is coming from. Again, I'm not going crazy with this one. This is just a few rust streaks to show you if you just want to do a bit of weathering and don't want to go crazy, this is a way to do some rust streaks. One other thing you can do is put some of the rust paint on the trucks. If you look at trucks on actual cars, they're seldom black in color. One thing that I will do is take some grinded up pastel chalk, usually black, and dust it on the car. This is a super easy way to fade the car and make it look a bit less plasticky. So adding some rust makes them more realistic, and here's the car. Now for the next car, we're going to do a similar process, but we're going to go with more rust. This car gets pretty much the same treatment as the last one, just more intense. I'm also mixing a few grays and browns into my colors as well. We're also going to come back with more pastel chalk powder and really grime up sections of the car. We're doing randomness here, and that is really the key here to making something look authentically weathered. And here is the result. Okay, car number 3. We're gonna shake it up a bit. We're gonna mess up the lettering and the logo on the car. For this, I'm using a small straight edge. You can use something like a hobby knife or utility knife. I scraped the vertical lines down the logo and a bit of the lettering as well. This is a great way to make the car look that it is older and from another railroad on your model railroad. I have seen this many times where you can just make out the logo of an old freight car from a defunct railroad on a modern train. Hence why I'm doing this on chassis system cars on my Norfolk Southern layout. After you get the scratching done, the process is pretty much the same with the dry brushing of the paint and the pastel chalk powder. We get this car looking really dirty and used, and here is the result. Now for the final car. We're going to make it look like it has seen years of abuse. We start off using the straight edge for scraping the logo and the lettering just like the last car. Then we're going to take some gray paint and paint blocks of paint over the logo. This is done frequently when a car or locomotive changes owners. It's so common that you will see manufacturers selling rolling stock and locomotives like these gondolas I picked up from Trainworks with that on it. And I'm not going to be putting the new lettering on there, but that is something you can also do. Once we've painted over the logos, we need to let the gray paint dry. Once it is dry, we can do the usual weathering job, but really crank it up to 11. We even do a little bit of splotching and dotting work to represent spots on the car that have started to rust through. I really go to town on this one, but we've all seen cars like this. You think to yourself, how is that car still functional? Once I'm done, I give it a crazy dusting of the powder, and this makes all of the weathering just really pop on this one. Take a look. Here are the 4 cars in their varied weathered states. Weathering can be scary, and I'm still not 100% confident enough to truly weather my locomotives. My advice is to start small and cheap. Grab some junk cars from eBay or a train show and practice. Soon enough, you'll be confident enough to weather anything. Thank you all so much for watching. Until next time, I'm Jimmy from the DIY and Digital. Stay safe, be kind, and happy railroading.